And talking to the leading attorney in the real estate closings in this part of the country, Mr. Bill Mathews, east side of the square. You can't no longer walk right across. You got to drive down.
Oh, I know. I hate
long walk down to that annex.
I hate that too, because I'll think I can get there in 45 seconds if I have to. And
now it's 45 minutes.
Yeah, well now it's a minute and 45 seconds. If I run the red light, but I hate that. I like being able to walk across the street to the courthouse.
All right, let me ask you, and this is probably a common thing that happens these days with people. When both my parents passed away, I got two brothers. And, we own, or they did, like 70 or 80 acres of land in New Hope and like that.
Yeah.
And, they wanted to form like an LLC,
Yeah.
And I said, listen, guys, I got basically no interest ever in coming back out here. Now, I say that, I may wind up back out there anyway. That happens probably more often than you think.
Yes, it does.
But you were concerned. Do they have to sell? Do they have to keep it?
Can I force them to sell? Let me get my third. I mean, they're great guys. I didn't think they was going to try to screw me, but that happens a lot in families.
Right. It really does.
So what happens in a situation like that?
That happens a lot. There may be one member that wants to live in the home.
Right.
There may be
we still have the house.
Right. There may be a child that lives, in the home when they die, and they don't want to sell it. And you'll see it a lot. There may be one of the brothers hunts the property, and he doesn't want to sell it.
He doesn't want to sell it.
And then
very similar to our situation.
I know.
Right, then you got another sibling that never comes there, and they want to just go ahead and sell it and get their money. And when you're probating the will, they have to sell it, and the property has to be divided. But you can also, if it's not a situation where a will's been probated, you can file a motion for a sale for division and have a judicial sale, and the court can order the property to be sold.
Now, when you handle something like that, and we dealt with a guy, Beeson in Huntsville, handled our situation.
Right.
When you're dealing, say there's 3, 5 siblings.
Right.
When you do paperwork, each one of them gets the identical copy, right? Not just the executor of the will.
Right.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
Or is it just the executor?
Well, like if you're filing the petition for sale for division, a lot of times it may be more than one sibling is the plaintiff. You may have, like, if there's 4 children, it could be that one's the plaintiff, but it could be that 3 of them want to sell and there's just one defendant. So you can have multiple plaintiffs.
Have you worked cases where they don't get along?
Oh yeah, that's very common in estates when you're dividing up money, and people don't. That's when family members do not get along, and that makes it so important to have a will and to go ahead and state what you want done. I'll have lots of people that come in and say, we want to go ahead and state in the will that we want our house sold. We want that stated.
Or how they want everything divided.
Yeah, they want everything divided equally, but then they want to go ahead and state, we want the house sold. We want there to be any argument.
I got 2 younger brothers. When my parents passed away, my dad was the last one to die. It'd be 3 years Christmas Day.
Yeah.
He already had everything divided.
Yeah.
And everybody got equal share, third, a third, a third.
Right.
And then even when, I don't know what kind of will they had, but we went to the funeral home. Twickenham did it over in Hampton Cove.
They purchased their funeral.
All we had to pay for was a death certificate. They didn't try to up us on one thing. It was just
They had everything
perfect.
planned. Yeah.
Now I know it don't need to go like that.
They didn't do the classic bait and switch.
No, it was up, just like Limestone Chapel will do. I mean, here in Athens, it was. I don't know the others that well, but it was just.
And that was actually
nothing.
the first time that the boys actually had death of someone that close to them when your mother passed away. And it was just so much easier and such a relief that everything was taken care of.
You can make things a whole lot easier on your family if you'll just do a few things.
Well, see, here I was. Okay, my brothers don't want to sell that. They're going to try to take it and do anything they want. I'm not interested in farming it.
Yeah.
And then lo and behold, next thing I know, the guy who was farming it, who was a relative, offered to buy my half out or my third out. So it worked out great.
Yeah.
So I can't go back and get. Now, what if they strike oil on that one? Basically,
you're out.
You're out.
That would be my luck. Good luck to them. Now, she's got a very good question pertaining to something else because you do so many things. You're one of the attorneys here in Athens, Limestone County, that does a multiple thing. Not only you're also the judge at Ardmore.
And when you see us out, if you have any questions, like this lady asked me, she is already divorced, trying to get back in court for child support because he's not paying what he should. but he has moved out of state,
Yeah.
and they don't know where to mail anything, so how are they going to find him? They know what state
And
he's
he's
in.
way behind in
and they
child
know where
support.
he works, but what do? You have to get a private investigator, track him
Well,
down?
in a situation like that, the Limestone County Department of Human Resources is a great resource for that type of case. They can look up his Social Security number, and they can see look
They know
look
where
to
he
that.
works.
Right? Oh, they do. They know where he works. Yeah.
Can you
And
serve
they can-
someone at their
Yes, they
corporate
can.
office?
And they can file what's called a UFSA, which is where you file something here, but actually you fill out the paperwork here and you send it to that other state, and then they register the order from our court. They register it in another state, and they go ahead and take him to court in that state. He doesn't have to come back here. He goes to court in
Really?
that state. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Why
Let them
is
know.
it sometimes, like when my last unfortunate marriage, anytime, she had a good attorney, anytime she wanted to file anything with the backlog, just like a year in Huntsville,
Yeah.
I'd be in court in a month. How is that possible?
They may,
Because of the attorney, their reputation, or what?
well, there's, a typical divorce takes a long time for it to
It's
be
like up to
heard.
a year and a half
And
or
the
2
judge is going to make you go through mediation, you go through depositions and mediations. But if it's some sort of emergency hearing and the judge is impressed that it's more of an emergency type situation, the judge will hear it sooner.
Leaving a phone message telling them that's emergency? See, what's the
That's right.
definition of an emergency?
Well, it all depends
Yeah,
on how
you
well
know,
they write
I
it
want
up.
my money back.
It doesn't sound right. It sounds like the
You're done. You're all done. Calm
it
down
sounds like
now.
she had a good lawyer.
Bill Burgess, give
wanna
him a
make
shout out. I like Bill. He's a good,
Yeah.
great attorney, unfortunately for me.
Yeah.
As is Bill Mathews.
Is it true, Bill? Let me ask you another question. Say Shut Up's getting divorced. Let's just use him.
That's just there's no truth to that.
Let's just say him or somebody
After
else,
today,
somebody
yeah.
similar. And say you're the leading divorce attorney here in Athens. And there might be one or two more. If he went, I'm just using you as an example because you're an LSU fan.
Go for a
If he went for a
consultation.
consultation with each, say he goes to you, goes speaks to Dan Totten, he goes speak to Harlan Mitchell,
No. I don't want to mention them all.
can
Yeah.
Can the other
they come
person
back and
go?
represent the wife if he's already consulted with them?
No, they can't.
So that's very
Why wouldn't everybody be doing that?
Because they should.
Right. There's, that does happen, and I've heard of that happening more of in a situation where a company may come into, a company may contact all the top attorneys in Birmingham
Yeah.
and ask them advice, and then they end up filing a lawsuit. Well, none of those companies can represent
Other person.
none of those lawyers can represent I've heard that
Good
happen.
strategy.
And one of the things we don't talk about up here that people may not know, you also can do personal injury.
Yeah, sure can.
And that must be big because I see these attorneys from everywhere else and they're eating, I wish they was advertising with me, but they're eating up the, one of them's got, two of them
Why
got
wouldn't you
billboards.
want-
They must have like 50
Why
billboards in
would you want a
Huntsville.
local attorney? Most of those just pass it along.
What's interesting about that is when you call that number
Yeah.
Yeah.
and the attorney is in Birmingham, when you call that number, you're actually talking to an attorney in Huntsville. You're not even talking
See,
to
most
that
people
attorney.
don't know that.
Yeah.
When they call
When you call that number,
they're going to come and talk to
when you
you.
call that number, ask them where are you located, and then and ask them this: are you even in the same law firm as this attorney that's on this billboard? Ask
Whereas
them that.
you, being by yourself, you always make it a point to see the person.
Yeah, yes I do.
And it's free
actually.
So
consultation.
if someone
Yes.
calls you, they're not going to be referred to another attorney.
Right.
They're going to
I'm gonna meet with them and drive out to their house. or
Bill
whatever.
Mathews, right there on the east side of the square, the only side where the steps are open on the courthouse. You go up there and
That's
go
right.
yourself in front of it.
Yeah.
All right, Bill, see you next week up here. So the
job.
questions today were good, you thought?
Yes, excellent.
I liked your question knowing exactly what that was.
What is that, Cal?
We'll take a break for the day. Joseph's back tomorrow. We'll have a 69 Chevelle
69
outside.
Chevelle, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Ooh, nice.
I already bought it.
It's
It'll be here
pretty.
tomorrow. Gotta go. See y'all.
When you wake up in the morning, you know just where it's at. Everybody says he's a real gone cat. Get out of here. Get out here. Early in the morning, we're here for you. Get out of here. Get out of here. Get out of here. Get